The World Health Organization reports a record one-day increase in global coronavirus cases of nearly 308,000, and Israel becomes the first country to reimpose a nationwide lockdown. The Dutch finance minister has warned that it can't be assumed the airline group Air France KLM will survive the economic crisis caused by the coronavirus pandemic. Both the Dutch and French governments put together billion-dollar bailouts for their respective national carriers earlier this year, but KLM has so far been unable to reach agreement with the unions on job cuts and stipulated as part of the Dutch deal.
Japan's ruling party is due to vote shortly to elect a new leader and the country's new Prime Minister. Shinzo Abe is stepping down from the role after almost 8 years due to health reasons. The Liberal Democratic Party has a majority in Parliament, so whoever wins the leadership contest will automatically become Prime Minister. Protests have been held in several cities in Argentina against the policies of President Alberto Fernandez. They were sparked by the transfer of funding from the capital, Buenos Aires, to the surrounding province to pay the police who've been on strike over pay and working conditions.
The National Portrait Gallery will unveil a new digital exhibition today. These are photographs which represent what they call the resilience, humour and sadness of the UK during lockdown.
The project, called Hold Still, was led by the Duchess of Cambridge and prompted 31,000 submissions, of which 100 were selected. Some of the pictures will be displayed in cities around the UK later on this year. Should we have a look at some of today's newspapers? The front page of The Telegraph reports that GPs have been told they must see patients face-to-face or surgeries could face investigation. The paper says there are concerns that too many patients are being offered only video or telephone consultations.
Show you the Mirror. Final virus warning is the headline there this morning. They're suggesting ministers are considering asking 4.5 million vulnerable people to shield at home again as coronavirus cases continue to rise.
The Times leads with comments from a scientific advisor to the government who says Britain may only be a few days from losing control of the number of infections. It comes as more than 9,000 new cases have been recorded since Friday. The paper also carries a picture, look, isn't that lovely, of sunbathers in Brighton yesterday as warm weather continues this week.
One of the most read stories on the BBC News website is about a big chunk of ice which has broken away from the Arctic's largest remaining ice shelf. This is in north-east Greenland. You can see the satellite image suggests it's around 110 square kilometres. That's 70 square miles and has shattered into small pieces.
Should we look at the inside pages and sort of related to that, actually? I don't know how many of you were watching Extinction, The Facts, which was on BBC One last night with David Attenborough, and that's just one of the pictures from it. We heard the story in it of one of the last 2 remaining northern white rhinos. Both are female, and obviously there's only 2 of them there on the edge of extinction. It was a hard watch, wasn't it? Incredibly informative as well. If you haven't seen it, it's on BBC iPlayer, but it was given 5 stars at least by The Guardian there. And we'll be talking about it actually a little bit later in the programme.
Yeah, quite a few of the papers have picked up on things. I think this is in The Telegraph talking about fears from David Attenborough that climate change could kill off polar bears by 2030. But do let us know what you think about it, because there's lots to discuss off the back of that.
And there was a glimmer of hope at the end of it, wasn't it, when he went back to, well, he didn't go back actually, but he'd been, remember, in Rwanda many, many years ago in the 1970s, filming mountain gorillas who are under threat. And actually, they have survived, they're doing really well. So, you know, there is one project, for example, that can give us a sort of glimmer of hope.
Loads of sport stories around today, which I know Sally's going to be looking at a little bit later on. First weekend of the Premier League season, which is very exciting. Australia.
Something to think about.
Australian choke in the cricket, which was fantastic. They lost 8 wickets for 63 runs as England won. And Sally's also going to be talking about the US Open tennis. We've got a great story here about a calendar. Have you bought any dull calendars in your time? Any? I
don't normally...
Or you've been given?
Given, yeah, that's the thing, isn't it?
Well, this guy calls himself, Kevin Beresford, he's an amateur photographer. He calls himself, self-styled, Britain's dullest man. And he's come up with a new calendar, which is car parks. Can you see this?
So pictures of car parks?
Pictures of car parks.
Oh, right, OK. So what's January? Have you got January?
January's here. This is April. Very exciting. This one, I think, is in the Severn Valley in August. Now, Kevin says... he's quite happy with the architecture of these car parks. He finds them fascinating. Apparently, he did once set up the Car Park Appreciation Society, but no one else joined. So he's in there on his own at the moment, and this isn't his first calendar, OK? It's not his first rodeo. He has done other calendars. One, he did roundabouts, which actually was quite successful, and he had to keep printing his roundabout calendar. And he's also done a calendar of Welsh post boxes. But he's not sure that his car park calendar is going to go down.
No, I can see the attractions of roundabouts and post boxes.
It's enthusiasm.
I'm not sure. This is there's going to be a bumper year for heritage apples. Apparently, orchards run by the National Trust are preparing to pick a bumper harvest of heritage apples. Many arable farmers, we were talking about farming last week, weren't we, a bit, have fears over this year's harvest, but it's really been a good year for orchards. Apples include cat's head, dog's snout and pig's nose pippin. And
Matt's been talking about the temperature over the next few days, and lots of papers have picked up on this. The Mirror talking about out of Africa, 31 degrees, they say. Families have been heading back to the beach over the weekend. Of course, rules have changed a little bit today, haven't they? An unseasonal blast. It's going to be 10 degrees on average hotter than normal at this time of year for most people across the UK. So temperatures up to the low 30s in some parts, particularly the southeast of England. And the highest temperature yesterday was 25.6 degrees, which is in Cavendish in Sussex, according to the Met Office.
The last summer sunshine. But